Previously on Warhammer Fantasy Battles. Oh man, what did I eat? Oh, that's right, my own vomit. Hey look, vampires! And now the thrilling sequel to Warhammer Fantasy Battles. Alright guys, here we go with game 2 of a 3-game tournament played at Atomic Empire. This is going to be Orcs versus Vampire Counts, playing the scenario Blood and Glory. The main difference between this and regular Blood and Glory would be that if you break your opponent, you get 800 victory points, and if you break your opponent second, you get 300 victory points. So you don't automatically lose if you get broken, and you don't automatically win if you break your opponent. And for those of you who've watched my previous battle reports, so this will be a rematch of my game 3 from the last tournament, playing against the same vampire player that I played in. Last time you'll remember that my trolls pretty much ate up his knights, and this is basically going to force him to take a flaming banner this time just because of me. So let's see how this sequel goes. And let's quickly look over my army list again. And one more little note here is that this is using the 1.8 version of the Swedish comp when you're looking at the little comp hits. It's not using the 1.9 version, but we are supposed to be using that for the main tournament we were practiced for. So my army would be like one more point less if I don't make any changes to it, so I'll go from a 10 to a 9. So that's something I have to think about. What do I want to change? Because I already want to try to take 2 Doom Divers, and that's going to take me down to an 8. So I need to figure out what I want to do, because I think I want to stay at least at a 9, no less than that. And now we look at my Vampire Count's opponent's army. He has 3 vampires this time instead of having the White King. I'm not sure if it's called Blood Drinker. One of the things he's taking is something where you roll and you can get a wound back. I can't remember exactly what it's called. But he still does not have a BSB, and I sort of think that he should get a BSB. He's comped as a 5 right now. I'm not sure how much taking a BSB would hurt him. I mean, I figure if you're comped as a 5, you might as well take the BSB. And he's got a few less Black Knights, and he's got some Var guys now. We'll take a look at my opponent's deployment. You'll notice the board looks really gothic. It's almost like I'm playing on his homeland, so he's kind of got like a home field advantage here. And you also notice he has this big unit of zombies behind that little gothic church. And this is because he only has a fortitude of 4, and we're playing Blood and Glory, so I only need to kill like one thing, take one banner, and I'll break him and get 800 points. So I mean, since the zombies, you know, the obvious easy target, he's got them hidden to try his best to keep me from being able to get to them. And now looking at my deployment, you'll see this kind of weird chaos tree thing. We're playing that as impassable, so again I have like a big piece of impassable terrain kind of splitting up my army. I also put my Ragnarok behind the building since, you know, it can crawl over it, so I figured why not. He wins first turn, so we're going into his first turn, and he of course keeps his zombies behind his building. And he charges his dire wolves and bats at the wolves, my own wolf rider that I had vanguarded up a little bit. And he had vanguarded his other wolves forward to keep my other wolves from being a vanguard, and plus he's sitting right in front of my 2 spear chuckers I have on that hill there. Otherwise he just moves up some other stuff, but he keeps his Terrorgeist sitting firm. He doesn't move that one up. And so when we go into magic, this is one of the good things I think about vampires having first turn, is that since they really can't raise a lot of new stuff that I have to worry about or heal a lot of wounds, I don't have to worry about those kind of spells. So instead he tries to get something where he can get like rerolls to hit or something on his wolves, and I dispel that. And I think he tries to get extra movement on something. I think maybe his knights, and I was able to dispel that as well. And when we go into combat, he's able to kill 2 of my wolf riders with all his attacks, but then I kill 2 wolves and do 1 wound to his bat. So we wound up with a 3-3 tie there. So this is doing pretty good there, and now I can charge my Ragnarok in there and hopefully be able to slingshot up. Going into Orc and Goblin turn 1, my little single troll fails stupidity, which kind of hurts me because I wanted it to charge the spirit host that you see right in front of it, because I was also planning to get my gigantic spider to charge the other spirit host, and then hopefully it could overrun into that spirit host so that it could fight a double combat, just in case my night goblins weren't able to charge into the flank. But my night goblins did have enough charge to make it to the flank of that one, so it didn't hurt too bad there. And I also charged my wolf riders into his bats, and I was able to charged my Ragnarok over the building and was able to clear it so he could charge into the combat where my wolves are fighting his bats and his wolves. And that was pretty much all my charges. In my compulsory for my manglers, I moved one mangler away from the chaos tree there. And also I forgot my gigantic spider failed its charge on the other spirit host. And my other mangler, it just moved towards the board edge as I was trying to swing it around in between the two buildings so it could go towards those knights, which would look like they were trying to swing around towards my trolls. That first pick was taken before magic, and this next pick will be at the end of the turn. And you'll notice here, it looks pretty bad for him. In magic, I got Foot of Gork off on his big knight unit. He wasn't able to dispel it. I put it so it would be covering all three vampires. When I rolled, it rolled a hit so it didn't scatter any, and then he failed his lookout serve for his general. So then I rolled and I was able to wound it. Then he failed his armor save, he failed his ward save, and then I rolled a 5, so I did 3 wounds and killed his vampire lord right off the bat with 1 foot stomp. And after that, I rolled a 1 and he put it on my big guns, I think, and he killed a couple. But this was just terrible for him. By the end there, when he started crumbling, he lost like 3 or 4 knights. His Terrorgeist completely died. He lost a few zombies. 1 spirit host died. His bats who were fighting my wolves died, and his wolves and his bats who were fighting my Ragnarok and other wolves both died. And I think he only lost 1 wolf from the other unit on the hill, and he didn't really lose any goals, but he lost so much from that, just that 1 failed lookout serve roll. And I think on top of that, my foot, I think it killed a couple more knights, but that was just terrible for him. And then when we're going into shooting, I think I shoot my Doom Diver his knights, and I don't know if I did anything to it. And I pretty much shot the rest of my stuff trying to shoot at his Terrorgeist, and I really didn't do anything. But I mean, this was just a disaster of a turn for him. When we go into the only combats we have, I don't even know if we had any combats left. I think all his stuff was in combat died actually. So yeah, this was pretty bad turn for him. Going into Vampire's turn 2. Even though me killing his general, breaks him, since we're not playing, win all from breaking, I only get the 800 victory points. So when we start this turn, he has a bunch of charges to get off. First he charges his wolves at my spirit checker on the left, on the hill. He charges Vargeist at my little Night Goblin unit. He charges his spirit host, I think he charges at my gigantic spider, but it fails. And then he charges his big knight unit at my Ragnarok. Going into magic, he's only got his 2 level 1s left. I don't think he really gets anything off. I think he tries to do a soul steal or whatever on my level 4, and I let it go, and I'm able to stop it. I'm able to stop. I don't take any damage. Going into combat, he really whips into my Ragnarok. I break, and he runs me down, and he pursues into my trolls. This panics those little wolf riders, but they flee through the trolls, and they're fine. Also, he just destroys my little Night Goblin unit. They break and they run onto the Mangler and kill the Mangler, and they're caught by the Vargeist, and the Vargeist pursue into my single troll. But the only thing really goes good for me in the combat here is that the direwolves against my Spirit Checker, he doesn't really kill anything, I think, and I'm able to pass my break test and I don't get destroyed. Going into Orc and Goblin turn 2, I reform my big unit here because I don't know what's going to happen with the troll fight, and I just want to be safe in case he swings around with those vampire knights and really hurts them. And I also take my BSB and level 1 shaman out of the little goblin unit because I know that's also a prime target for him to try to get with those knights. Well, I do charge my little chariot at his wolves that are up on the hill, but that's pretty much the only thing that's going on there. And when we go into magic, I don't think I do anything. I think I tried to headbutt his general, well, it's not his general, but his new person in charge, but I don't think it really works. When we go into shooting, I have really nothing to shoot at. other than his ghouls. My llama misfires and destroys itself, and I don't really think I damage anything. I don't really have really nothing to shoot at. So when we go into combat, first my chariot pretty much mops up his dogs. I think he does kill the spear chucker, but then he crumbles and the wolves are gone there. His Vargeist kill my troll and then overrun into my gigantic spider guy. Let's see, and then we go to the troll combat. As you can see in the picture, the trolls are wiped out, but he has a fire banner, so he does a lot of damage to me, but I had 4 trolls left over, still alive. And so I put 2 vomits on the guy who's acting as a general. Both the vomits hit, they don't automatically hit, they both wound, and he has no ward. So I'm able to kill the guy who's his general. And then I put another vomit on his second guy who got the lower death. I'm able to do 1 wound to that. And my trolls run and get broken down. You're going to get cut down, but I've killed a secondary general, so he has to start crumbling again. And he doesn't have much to crumble now other than ghouls and zombies, but I've killed 2 out of the 3 vampires, and I've got his main unit here of knights down to 4 plus 1 wound on his last vampire. So I'm doing real well there, and I don't think they're that much of a threat anymore, but I'm really trying to see if I can go ahead and take them out. Going into vampires turn 3, I wanted to add, during my magic phase, I think I did miscast when I was doing headbutt, because I know I wound up losing 3 magic levels. So I'm only level 1, and I think the only spell I remember was Ere We Go, and my level 1 is the one who had Foot of Gork. So I still have Foot of Gork, but my level 4 is level 1, but it doesn't matter too much now because he's only got a level 1 death. So when we're going to his turn, he doesn't have much to do. He had overran into my wolves, and he destroys them, and he just moves his ghouls up, and moves his zombies up. And I think he crumbles again because he no longer has a lower vampires guy, but he doesn't do too much damage. And when his Vargeist were fighting my gigantic spider guy, I think they do 2 wounds to me, but I kill his champion, and I think it winds up being a draw, maybe? I'm not exactly sure, but I know I don't break, so I'm still holding those Vargeists off. Going into Orc and Goblin turn 3 now. I charge my Wolf Riders and my Chariot into the Vargeist who are fighting my gigantic spider. I also go ahead and get my BSB and level 1 into my big unit of Biggins here. When we go into magic, though, I try to put a Foot of Gork on his knights with his last vampire, and I get it with irresistible force. And I think I kill maybe 1 or 2 knights when it scatters. But then my miscast, I get sucked into the cascade, and I kill a bunch of Biggins in the process. And we go into shooting. I shoot everything trying to kill those knights, and I'm able to get down to he has no more knights left. He's just got his 1 level 1 death vampire. And so when we go into combat, my Chariot does a bunch of damage, and my gigantic spider does as well. I'm able to wipe that unit out of Vargeist. So going into Vampires turn 4, and the same as last game, the reason he's not conceding yet is that if you concede, you give up 16-4, and right now it's not at that point. So by not conceding, he gains points. So he might as well play it out and keep a point or 2. And basically all he does this turn, he tries to get his last vampire behind the building, and he moves up his other guys. Orc and Goblin turn 4, I reform my Biggins, so I'm hoping I can, my next turn, charge around that chaos tree and get to his ghouls. And I move my goblins back so I don't give the ghouls an easy charge to them, and then he can kill a bunch of them and get another point that way. And basically the only other thing happens this turn is when we're going to shooting, I do an indirect shot with my Doom Diver, and I scatter 6 inches, but I veer back 5 inches, so I still land on his vampire, and I'm able to kill it, so all 3 of his vampires are dead. And quickly go back to magic, I was able to get Ere We Go off on my orcs. That was the only spell I had. And for vampires turn 5, he's not charging me with his ghouls. I guess there's really no reason to, because if I wipe them out, then I'm definitely getting a 16-4. And then I realized I can't charge his ghouls because there's like a little piece of that tree sticking out you can't really see in this picture. So I'd have to wheel twice to get around it. So since I can't do that, I can't charge it, so we just end the game here. And so there we have it. It's a victory for the Orcs. This is a 15-5, so he doesn't give up the 16-4 by playing it out. So I was able to win this epic rematch But then, the thing was, I got the foot of Gorkov on turn 1, so he was really hampered by that. The 3 Vampire Knight boss is really, really scary. I'm very happy I was able to 2 games in a row to stop this boss. I'm really worried about if I have to play this a 3rd time in a row, because it seems like we're playing each other in every tournament, the last 3 or 4 in a row now. And also note the trolls, they pretty much still did their job even though they got wiped out. They were able to vomit onto his secondary vampire there and kill it, which set off another round of crumbles. And I was able to put a wound on his last remaining vampire. So even with the flaming banner on those knights, I think my trolls still did pretty much their job. The thing I'm still disappointed in the Ragnarok, it just seems like it has a hard time winning any combats, and then it just breaks because it's only stubborn 6 and it gets run down. So I'm mainly keeping that because of the hoping to increase my painting score, and it just looks so cool. And that's the end to another battle report. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Feel free to subscribe or like or make any comments. And stay tuned for my next battle report. Hope to have it up in the next few days. I'll be taking on Ian's Evil Lizardman. See you guys then.